Dr. Dwindle DS here. Tourist, sleazy car salesman extraordinaire, you look new, or did you just get a facelift? Either way, you look magnanimous today. You know who else is magnanimous? Starlight. That's right, this podcast. I mean, an adventure with me. In it, what's not to like? Welcome to my show. Let me show you around at the fair price of a listen, review, or subscribe. All these things go a long way to help other spacers find the show. And if you're feeling extra special, then consider checking out the Patreon. Do what makes you most comfortable. Just help a dwindle stay in business. Hey, and welcome back to Starlight. Hello? Courtney? Hey, Courtney, where are you? Quit playing around. Courtney!
I'm over here. Over here. Over here.
Where are you? Oh my god! Seriously, quit playing around. They didn't come here for you to play your games. They came here to listen to Starlight. Am I right?
Which is my game. So they came to play my game.
All right. Which, speaking of games, you guys have gotten a past few really cool episodes, and we are going to keep continuing in, I believe, as Courtney has said, March is the month of women. So in honor of that, we are going to finish out this month with a Makena-themed, it's a Makena-themed podcasting month here with us with Starlight. So, without further ado, let's jump into the story and find out what plans Marty has on this episode of Starlight.
Neurolink, would you please mind accessing memories?
Accessing. Adopting the unwilling Sisa, Makena and Thurstein walk out of the orphanage having accomplished their reconnaissance goals. A large subterranean space exists below Thyra's front, and the spacer is pretty sure that is where Klazezel, the giant vat of brain, has been taken hostage. Fairly certain of where to gain entrance to the underground, Makena and Thurstein leave, with different attitudes towards their newfound young charge, and how to handle extracting information from him. Memories retrieved.
With that, we jump into Starlight. And before we get started, there are such things in the universe. Some people call them God. Others call them the gods, the Everlights. Some people just call it dumb luck. Others call it fate. Tonight, we shall see where it rolls. I want you to go ahead and roll a die 100 for me. If you roll 50 or higher, you'll receive 1 point of inspiration. But if you roll less, I will receive a point of de-inspiration, a point that I can spend to make you roll at disadvantage at any point.
Okay. 31.
Oh, and the fates have spoken. So let me mark that down.
You know, I didn't roll
All right.
great last game. And I'm not starting out well this game.
The camera follows you as the doors to the adoption agency open with a Thurstein had words with Sisa, alone, away from you. And ever since then, Sisa's been walking with his head down. Although there is a bit of a disgruntled, angry look on the sandy-haired boy's face. He has dark eyes, thick eyebrows, and a frown that looks like it is permanently attached to the bottom of his jawline. He is displeased, to say the least, but he is following. There is a portfolio under your hands, your data disk, which doesn't really weigh anymore, but it feels like it weighs more. It weighs more with the responsibility of a son A son who you bullied. A son who you left. A son who now you have taken from his home in the orphanage. You smell the air. There's still so much before you, but in some ways, it's a good day. The air smells fresh. There's salt on the air, and you start stomping across this turf field on top of this, like all of the city of Ninoy is, on top of this platform that is held aloft above the actual ground of Thala Colony. You start approaching the gates. You look back and you can see all these like kind of dark tinted windows, and you know that many rows of kids that you could have chosen from now work within on their schoolwork. The playground, which was once busy when you came in, is empty, and all that is there to it is you, Makena Ali, under the guise of Marty McFly, Thurstein, under the guise as your husband, as Josiah McFly, and your son, Sisa McFly. There are the shipping crates, large containers made of metal that are painted a dull rustic red on the far right side of the field, and in the background you see Illyris just waving. Take care.
I'm just gonna keep walking, and try to make small talk with Sisa. Like, hey, we're really excited to welcome you into our family, and try to play it cool, like I'm not the person who was really mean to him in the temple.
Go ahead and roll a charisma roll.
21.
I'm excited too.
Well, that was convincing. Tell me about your life living here at the orphanage thus far. What's it like here? Or what was it like here?
It's boring. Too many kids. Not enough to do. I don't know. It's an orphanage. Like, we're waiting for families, which one now I have. I don't know. When I got bored, I would steal things.
The bruises on your body tell me the place isn't quite so boring. Or your life isn't quite so boring.
Go ahead and make a persuasion roll.
16?
What would you know about exciting?
I mean, not much. I've lived a really boring life, so maybe exciting is the wrong word, but more like it looks like the place isn't boring, Sisa, how you described it. And I just kind of want to get to know you and what your life has been like thus far.
Look, lady. Just because you have some papers, some data codes that say you're my mom, you're never going to be my mom. Alright? It's only going to be a matter of time before you drop me off because you're sick of me stealing stuff.
That is not true.
Well, it might be if he's too much trouble, Thurstein interrupts.
You are going to be an incredible asset to our family. And I punched Thurstein.
Ugh. The woman's always packed a punch. You do well not to disrespect her. But yes,
well, thank you.
An asset indeed.
So, back to what I was saying, and as we're walking, I also want to keep an eye out for Mr. Dwindle, who we saw on the way over here. Sisa, as we were looking around, it was very hard to see more than maybe meets the eye of this orphanage. All orphanages have a story. They always have something to hide. And honestly, it's weird that those big crates are out there. It's weird that guards were standing by at the elevator. It's weird that you have bruises all over your body. It's weird that machines with huge guns are everywhere in the orphanage. Like, there's weird things that are happening there. and I feel concerned for the other children there. Sisa, what's going on there? And I'm going to stop and look him in the eye.
Go ahead and roll a persuasion roll.
19.
He shrugs. You guys find yourself in the middle of a pretty busy pavilion. There is a cloud that kind of covers part of the twin suns. And Seesaw looks around. Go ahead and make an insight roll.
13?
You notice that he kind of is a little wary of where he is in a situation. And you guys are in kind of like more of like the dock ward area of the city. So it's a bit rougher town. And I mean, yeah, every organization has its secrets. Whatever. There's not, I mean, I don't know what do you want from me? Like with the robots? What did Alaris tell you, the headmistress, huh?
Well, she told me they were there to keep you safe. Which is not an entirely unplausible response. The robots, combined with the protection of the door, combined with the big crates, combined with the way your body looks, just all a little bit of some red flags there.
Go ahead and roll a charisma roll.
16?
Well, these are pretty good scars and bruises if I say so myself. And you actually, for the first moment, kind of catch a little bit of like a boyish pride in terms of like seeming a little bit tough with the bruises that you've noticed. And that smile kind of fades, and he says, as far as I know, there's always been bots that have been at the orphanage. But yeah, this has been worse since the bombing at the House of Roses. And then with that insight check you rolled earlier, you notice that there is a little bit of a strange twitch to his eyebrow. Something that could potentially be a tell. Maybe if he's lying or not being entirely truthful.
Well, if you don't find it to be a red flag, dear, then I won't push you too much on it. But if you do think of anything that might be worrisome as far as what's happening there, for the other kids that you knew, it would be good to know. It would. And I'm walking back towards where Mr. Josiah lives, where we live, our home.
As you are walking that direction, Josiah starts to cut across town, taking a different route than the way you went. You are starting to move more southernly towards the terminal train station on which you and the rest of the spacers originally came in. You start to approach the large statue of Mr. Ackerm, of which you've seen before, and the larger-than-life steps that lead up to this old station that's dilapidated. And Thurstein starts to make his way towards the ticketer's office. And he nods at you and says, "I'll take care of the tickets, dear, so that we can get our lovely Sisa back to our home and sanctuary."
Okay. And I'm gonna use whisper into his ear. What are you doing?
Have you... Oh dear. And this is when you realize that while a lot of people don't have too much experience with technomancers, Thurstein has definitely experience with technomancers. He doesn't jump. He doesn't act like surprised. He just looks back at you and raises an eyebrow, and he then smiles and chuckles to himself. Looks at Sisa. "First thing you should know, son, is a big part of the reason why we haven't had kids is your mother, who I'm sure one day you will call your mother, has had memory problems." He looks at you and says, "Dear, I know you're getting confused. but we live in sanctuary. Now, if you two could stay together, I'm going to go get our tickets.
Okay. That sounds great, dear. Sisa, there's cafes around here. Can I get you ice cream, chocolate, a cupcake, cake, brownies, anything to make you like me a little bit?
Make another persuasion roll.
24.
Well, he surveys the hall of various kind of like mall-like vendors where you see people of all races, and most of the vendors look shitty with their food. He points at 3. I like soba noodles, so
Let's get those. Let's do it. Some for the whole
number
family.
2 of that, and an ice cream.
You got it.
And that's when he turns with a little smile. And I'm a big fan of the XR games. What about one of those new boards over there? And he points at a vendor who's selling a gambit of pricey to mid-ranged priced hoverboards.
Sisa, as much as I want to say yes, dear,
I'll tell you a
adopting
secret
you is-
if you buy me that. That's why you want to get to know me more, right?
Sisa, are you bribing me?
Yes.
Well, I'm bribing you too. So, fair enough. Soba noodles, ice cream, and board game it is.
So you go to all of them and you are given a plate of soba noodles, fresh, delectable smells, a little bit of that umami tang on the end. It's a little strong for your trunk, but the lady plopping it out just lands it onto the bowl with a... Then you go and get your ice cream, and Sisa is actually for the first time not frowning. But it's when you go to get the boards that you see the smile on his face. You see a tiefling. You see it is a porky man with tan skin. He has a frog-like kind of mouth and floppy ears that run out of a long mess of hair. He has 4 arms to him and a dirty apron on the front that's covered in grease. I like a boards up to woohoo. What are you looking for?
Sisa, what are we looking for, dear?
Oh, well, my choice?
Within reason, please.
Well, and he raises a finger and starts pointing them across like a series of boards that the proprietor holds up. And as a boy at a teenager age would, he picks the most expensive one. It is red trim, has kind of a yellow dash of like lightning running down the center of it, and it has a similar propulsion system, like a mini version of that to Dragons, where it actually like changes a little bit of gravity around it. You see 4 boosters of like rockets on the back, and there's like it comes with like 2 like hepatic hand maneuvering systems. That's gonna run here, probably. Let me go through the manuscript here. We're looking at about 750 credits. But this thing, if you're into the XR games, there's no one like it. Yeah, I think that's the one. That my mom promised she was gonna get me the best. I was just adopted. It's kind of a present. Well, she can't say no to that, can she?
I'm gonna pull Sisa aside really quick.
Hey, what?
Sisa, did you just call me your mom just to get me to buy you this?
He's smiling. I thought this is what moms did.
Sisa, this is not what moms do. But I'm gonna buy you the game!
It's a board. The man looks at you, crosses 2 arms as he's grabbing the board off the top rack with his other 2, and he says, 750 credits. Go on and click your data link over here.
Sisa, dear, we're gonna have to go talk to your father really quick. Let's go get your father involved. We're working out some finances right now, and I think he might be able to help us purchase the game.
So you make your way and eventually find Thurstein, or Josiah, and he's coming back with the tickets and meets you guys. What's this about, a board?
Oh dear. Well, me and Sisa were just chatting, and he would like to purchase one of these really cool boards over here. And you have the funds, dear. Since, we share money like a healthy couple.
I want you to make a persuasion roll with disadvantage.
7.
Well, I think it's time that the boy learns the word no.
Sorry, dear.
If you can treat your mother well, and perhaps answer a few questions about your personality and the things you're into, then maybe we can consider a reward. So, like a bribe.
He was just bribing me too, dear. It's like father, like son. You guys have so much in common already.
Although the adult should be the one doing the bribing, not being bribed by a kid. Now, come on, we're going to be late for our train. And I don't want this kid out of our sight. Let's go, Marty.
Well, come along, dear.
Station, platform 6.
Can I insight check Sisa to make sure he hasn't stolen anything?
Big game roll.
16.
No, Sisa hasn't stolen anything that you can tell at this point. But he glumly gets on to the train with you guys. And you guys make your way. It's a lot more crowded than when you first came into Nanoy. It seems that people are a little bit more excited to leave. And he sits down and looks out across the expanse as the train starts to move forward and across kind of like the sky rail out of the city. And he never looks back at you. He just kind of stares across the jeweled blue waters to the island that Nanoy is situated on. McKenna, can you make a perception roll for me, please?
13.
You hear a familiar voice. Although you're not quite sure where you heard it from, right off the cusp. It's about time we're getting you out of here. I told you. You're getting mixed up in things you shouldn't have. We're going to take you home, and you're going to get a proper job, and you're going to go back to going and praying at the House of Reveries. Not this cult bullshit that you've been messing with, sister. You understand? There's a woman's voice, and she says, Yeah, Liam, I know.
Is it the guy whose sister was missing when we first got here?
Go ahead and make a history roll.
16.
You remember faintly on the Airbus that you were taking to Thala Colony in the first place, right before it broke down and ended up stuck on the prison asteroid, that there was a human male, short, crimped beard, kind of like hard worker's eyes, and a stocky build, who you had overheard saying he was going to find his sister, who was writing strange letters about being caught up and getting interested in almost like cult-like business.
I'm gonna whisper into his ear. I'm so glad you found her.
Make a charisma roll.
20! Not a nat 20, but a 20.
All right, about 5 seats up from you, you watch as this man says, Well, of course. He stops himself. Did you say something, sister? No. I'm just gonna miss the next sign. Oh, knock it off with the signs. The only sign you're getting is a wake-up call. I'm gonna go find something to drink. And he shuffles up out of the seats and starts walking towards, like, the food carousel.
What is his sister doing now?
You see his sister has short brown hair that's been pulled up into kind of like a top-knot ponytail. And you see that she is... You can barely make out that she's, like, pulled a book up to read and starts kind of, like, sifting through these pages. And kind of has, like, a slump to her shoulders.
Can I tell what she's reading?
Not from where you're sitting.
Okay. Sisa, do you want to go up to the food area and get something to eat again? Even though you just had soba noodles and ice cream?
No.
Why not? You're a growing young boy. Why don't you want to eat? Don't growing young boys just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat?
He looks away from the window at you, rolls his eyes, shakes his head, and looks back out the window.
Oh, you hate me, don't you?
And you're just now picking up the hints.
You hate me and Josiah.
Well, honey, we did just say we were going to adopt him. It's going to take some time for him to get used to it.
You know, Josiah dear, I thought when we adopted a child, they'd be excited we were adopting them. Hence, a little bit of my frustration, and I'm going to stomp off.
So you get up and you walk through the train.
As I'm walking through, though, I want to see what that girl's reading.
Go ahead and make a perception roll.
20.
You see that she's just reading some, like, melodramatic novel. But she notices you kind of stomping by her, like, looking down, and she looks up at you and smiles, goes back down to reading her book.
Hello, dear. Do have a good ride.
And
I'm going to go into the food cart.
You too. And you walk through the various parts of the train to eventually you find the food carousel. You see her brother there just finishing up getting some food, and he's like starting to kind of like brush past you as he's walking by.
I'm gonna pull him aside and say, hey, that was my voice. Congrats on finding your sister. I'm truly happy for you. And I'm trying to come across as not very creepy, because this is very creepy.
Make a charisma roll.
13. And then if he seems creeped out, I'm gonna explain right away that I had saw him on the Airbus.
I don't remember seeing you, and I certainly don't remember giving you permission to hack into my neurolink. Keep your technomancer thoughts to yourself.
Oh.
And thank you.
Oh. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cross any boundaries. I was really just excited for you.
It's just
we had
it's
talked
just
on
weird.
the Airbus.
It's just weird.
I'm sorry.
It's just like
I tend to cross social boundaries.
It's an invasion of privacy. It's like my neurolink, okay? Like that's weird. And he sets down an armful of food onto the tray with a choosh. And I'm just tired of weird, okay? So like, first it started with my sister deciding to come out. They let her become a silicate harvester, and then she ends up joining a cult, getting interested in these cult-like religions outside the reveries, which is dangerous enough. And then it's just weird, okay? It's you just stay out of my head. I've had It's been a long past couple months.
Can I tell you weird? I came into this orphanage expecting to adopt a kid who would love me and who I would love, and it was gonna be this great, lovely family, and then he turns out to hate me the moment I meet him, and he doesn't even know who I actually am. It sucks. We can totally relate on this weird thing. Can I buy you a coffee?
I think go ahead and make another charisma roll.
I'll stay out of your neurolink. 19.
Sure, a coffee would be nice. Yeah.
Do you like it dark? Cream, sugar, honey. I like honey lattes. Those are my favorite. I can get you one.
Yeah, two creams, no sugar. Thanks.
Okay, great. And I buy him a coffee.
2 creams coming up.
Oh, can I get a honey latte as well? Extra honey.
Just go ahead and forward that 10 credits.
Got it. And I forward that over.
So you return with the coffees, and he accepts it and takes a slurp. I didn't catch your name. I should be able to thank you properly.
Marty. It's Marty.
Marty? Yeah. My family calls me Jimbo. He raises a hand out, and you see that it's a workman's hand as he grips yours and shakes at your hand through the gloves, and he kind of like looks at your hand, the size of it, and he goes, whew. And I thought I had bare paws, but
Yeah, big hands running the family. The kid. It's a good thing I didn't adopt, or that I adopted him. He's not getting in my hands.
well, there's nothing we can do about that. We're just kind of born with the things that we have, and I'm sure if you had a kid, they would love the hands you have. Anyways,
Doubt it.
sorry I kind of blew up.
They'd probably hate what these hands have done.
Well, we all go through life and make mistakes. I'm sure they'd understand after a while. And anyways, I'm sorry that I kind of blew up on you earlier. It's just, like I said, it's just very relieved to be able to get my baby sister back. And hopefully I can get her a proper job. Who knows, maybe working in the construction yards with me. She's a smart mind, and maybe I can get her something in finance. I got a few connections there, and it'd just be good to get this nightmare behind us. I mean, she was really freaking me out. I mean, she was sending me these hollow videos trying to tell me about this guy named the Sunmaker, and something about his return, and that it's just that things were going to change for the better, and I don't really understand it myself, but she was convinced. She said that there were signs, premonitions. Even today, she's upset that she's going to miss one of these signs, which is just like, gosh, I've heard that Nanoi is the back ass of this planet, and really this whole planet sucks. And I just hope it didn't mess her up good, you know?
How weird, this whole Sunmaker thing. I keep hearing things about him as well. What signs was she talking about there?
Well, first it's apparently there's one sign. The first one, gosh, I would know it well enough. Apparently, there's signs that the Sunmaker is going to return. That's the first one, the promise. Which really, a promise, what does that mean? That's not a sign. But the second, that the dead would rise. The same way the Sunmaker would rise. Between me and you, there's a lot of weird stuff happening in Nanoi. There's been at least 6 incidents of dead walking. Now, I'm not a superstitious guy, and I'm prone to think that it's some local kid, some local just jackwagon technomancer, sorry, no offense to you, who is just having fun with the locals, you know. But anyways, now the next sign that she talked about, I would know it like the back of my hand. She talked about it enough, really looked forward to it. She called it the Sun Origin. You would not believe how long it took me to look up that word. It's a long word, long history, long forgotten from language. I had to go ask 3 separate librarians. They said that it's some Loxodonian derivative. Anyways, apparently it means prayer.
Well, why not just say prayer, huh? It means prayer. Why do they use such fancy words, those crazy Loxodons?
I don't know. I don't really know much about Loxodons, but who does, right? They're almost more myth than anything. Although,
I know.
I did see one,
Here you.
which was really weird. I saw one on this on the Airbus over here, and yeah, it was interesting. She made a real scene. I'm still half prone to think she was a fairy tale.
What was the scene?
She was just there. She was just
What
there.
was the scene?
It's big. Nobody's seen a Loxodon. I certainly haven't seen a Loxodon except on, like, documentaries.
Well, they are interesting creatures, hey?
Yeah, she seemed nice enough. She seemed nice enough indeed.
I bet
But
she was incredibly good looking too. I mean, those female Loxodons, they just are gorgeous creatures, aren't they?
couldn't tell you. I got my human with human tastes. Maybe I like myself a little half elf or a little elf here and there. There's this one time on my sweet.
I don't even know. Next sign. What was the next sign?
Oh, it was the origin.
Your
Yeah.
sister-
It was the origin.
Yeah.
She said it would be a call to prayer for the rising of the sun.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyways,
And is that supposed to just happen on Thela, or is that like, what does that look like? Did she say?
beats me. And just as he says that, you hear and it's coming from the other side of the train. It's muffled, but you both kind of like look up alert. There's a few others in this little like kind of like dining car, and the doors open as a group of people kind of like move out of the adjacent train into the cart with you, and they're kind of pointing in the direction, and you hear someone just say, someone stop that, and then someone throws up kind of on the side.
Is it coming from the way we came from?
Yes.
Oh boy. And Sisa didn't come this way?
No.
And neither did his sister?
No.
And neither did my husband?
No.
Oh boy. Okay, well, it seems as though our people are back in that cabin, so I imagine we should head that direction.
Okay, so you start to walk calmly past the group of people. There's only like a few of them, and you start making your way into the cart from which you came, and you immediately see the source of the chaos. You see Jimbo's sister prostrated on the ground. You see that she is with her arms spread straight out, legs tucked up underneath her as if she's bowing, and you just see a pool of blood running across the green varnish. To the side, you see Sisa kind of backed up against his seat, his eyes wide, and you see Thurstein kneeling next to the woman, and it looks like he's checking her pulse, trying to talk to her, and you notice that looks like he's almost like trying to connect with her neurolink. Jimbo rushes forward, pushes him off. He says, What happened? What? Alice! And he tries to move her, but you can see that even though he is moving her, her body's not moving. It's rigid. She's already gone into rigor mortis, as if in a heightened state of like the body kind of like going through the stages of death. There is a shot, looks like shot through the roof of her mouth. And you can see that Jimbo is cradling his little sister in his hands, tears in his eyes. When Thurstein tries to come closer, Jimbo pushes him away and says, What did you do to her, you monster? I didn't do this. She said that... She said something in a language that I didn't understand. It was strange, and the only words I could understand we're Sunmaker. And then she
Oh.
got down on her hands and knees, and it sounded like she was saying a prayer or something, and then she shot herself. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Oh. Oh my goodness. Oh, Sisa, your poor eyes.
And it's at that moment, McKenna, that I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Why? 18?
You see in the back of the car a familiar woman. She's sitting in the back seat. Gray hair, wispy, parts of it are falling out, and you can see the familiar medallion of the family wrapped around her neck, the symbol of a Sunmaker. She says, "Dear, the time for prayer is now. It is time for the origin." And Aphid stands up and begins walking towards you. Each step like an eternity to the next.
Thurstein? Thurstein, you see her, right?
See what? What's the
Thurstein,
problem,
hold
Marty?
my hand. Hold my hand. Keep me grounded.
He finds his hand wrapped in yours. At this point, Sisa now is watching you in confusion and what's going on. Aphid continues walking forward, and she says, "The Sunmaker is returning. It is the third sign. Will you be one of the ones to give the origin?" She comes face to face with you, and even though she is a crippled old woman who is kind of hunched in the back, she almost looms larger than reality. Her eyes are empty black holes. The medallion glints gold. And you feel this tugging at your mind. Your knees go weak, and you fall to the ground with a Your hands go outright, and you cannot control as your mouth begins speaking in Loxodonian words. And you start giving an old prayer that not even you understand. But it is a prayer that speaks of new beginnings with new suns. It refers to the death of the old sun that erased the Loxodonian planet. And then everything goes dark. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh my gosh. That was a nat 1.
Your mind rips. Feels like it's getting like shrilled like metal. Electricity feels like it's popping. You can hear the sounds of your parents standing next to you, trumpeting softly. You remember the moment when your family said goodbye and you got onto a ship to go to university, when your life changed. You remember meeting a dapper young Loxodon who stood outside of the pavilion where you would go for many of your classes. One who was often talk about the old Loxodonian way. He wasn't a student, but he would often be ignored. You remember striking up a conversation with him. And then you remember the good times. The times of discovering old culture, the excitement, the laughter. You also remember the slow slip. The impersonations. The blackmail. The recruiting. And it all ends with the sound of crying and a knife slipping into a body. And when it pulls out, that last bit of blood drip that falls to the ground. And when that blood breaks and spatters, you wake up.
Oh.
You find yourself in a cold room, tucked safely in. Your collar is off. Your Loxodon form is before you. And there is a night light that is on. It is... You're not sure what hour of day it is. It probably is somewhere between late evening or that, like, well, not late evening, but somewhere between early evening, late afternoon. And there is a rustling of the building as the building reverberates and shakes, or your room does anyways, as a dragon drives by. More go by, and you realize that your window's right outside of a sky lane. You kind of get up. There's a little bit of a headache. The room doesn't have many personal effects, although your things are there around you. There's a single door, and you look out the window, and you see the vast city of Sanctuary with its high-rising buildings, with the many, like, vehicles and speeders and dragons that are kind of passing through sky lanes, and you look down and you realize you're probably about 5 stories up. The memories swell back about what happened. You feel like shit, but you've also felt worse before. You can hear footsteps on the other side of the door. They're faint, and there is also a faint conversation. Go ahead and make a perception roll.
18?
You hear the ends of this conversation. Yeah, she's fine. Checked her pulse. I think she picked up whatever virus Holst bugged into some of the... yet to be determined where those bugger points are, but she saw Aphid for sure. We're lucky she didn't kill herself. Huh? Yeah, no, I know. I got the boy, too. It won't take too long to get him to squeal. Yeah? I'll keep you updated. And then it clicks out with the footsteps kind of like walk a little bit away from the door.
Hello? Thurstein, is that you?
McKenna? And then the footsteps come back, open the door, and you see Thurstein. He doesn't have his disguise on either. And his eyes soften, the beard, the gray kind of peppery hair, with the big mustache. You see that he's wearing kind of a tan trench coat. And you see his trusty pistol at the side. And he smiles. I was worried that you were comatose.
Thurstein, it's not funny.
Not much.
It's not. There's nothing to laugh about.
Oh. I'm sorry, my dear. I imagine that was quite tough.
I saw Aphid. And she spoke of the sun erosion. And my head, it was being torn apart.
Well, I can assure you, it's all there.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm sure. It was quite some undertaking to get you here.
Are you calling me fat?
No, big boned.
Okay. And Sisa, is he okay?
Oh.
You've not hurt him, have you?
No.
Does he know that I'm an elephant?
No, of course not. That would... Well, not yet.
Where is he?
Oh, I sedated him.
You sedated our son?
He's not our son. We're going to stop playing the games. He has information on Thyra. You've tried it your way. You've asked questions nicely. And now, it's going to be my way.
Thurstein, he cannot know who I am. Thurstein, and he needs to stay in our lives long term. He's just a boy, and if we treat him poorly now, Thurstein, then we're stuck with him. So it happens when you adopt. Regardless of how you do it, you're stuck with him till he's at least 18, and probably longer with a troubled boy like him. We must do this kindly. Please do this kindly.
We're not stuck with him. I'm not stuck with him. There's no we.
Your name is on the paperwork.
A man who doesn't exist's name is on the paperwork. Now, you are getting off topic again. My temper is short.
Your temper is short.
I would have left you in prison if I knew this was going to be an issue. So don't prove me wrong. This boy runs with the Lily Press gang. The Lily Press gang runs under Thyra. Do you think that it's a coincidence that he happens to be at the orphanage where Thyra is trafficking people? You think that's an accident? I don't. And asking nicely is obviously not getting anywhere. Now, unless you have another way to get him to talk besides asking, then hacking neurolinks or torture always makes people talk. And don't forget your end of the deal.
I remember.
McKenna. You want your friend's trunk back. We know where Holst is. You help us save Clozezel. Mr. Grimble gets his promotion. I get my payment. You get your revenge. And then you're off this planet to do Lord knows what.
Thurstein, dear. I do understand that we made a deal, but I think the deal can still be withheld and upheld without torturing. Now, I'm not always opposed to neurohacking, so that is a neurolink hacking, so that is an option. But maybe leave torture for last and be nice. I understand there's no we, but you don't know a lot about me, and you don't need to know a lot about me, but Thurstein, I would like for things to work out with Sisa long term in terms of maybe me actually being his mom. And even if it's not a real me, because Marty McFly does not exist, and Makena Ali does, but I do hope...
You're rambling.
Just...
McKenna?
Don't torture him, please.
I will torture him if I need to be. So if you are interested in him not be getting hurt, because as what happens with most neurolinks, as you found out as your neurolink was hacked, and until we figure out the coding with Aphid and how to stop that altogether, you're going to keep having problems as these various signs are going through. He's going to get hurt no matter what. So, you're a technomancer. Unless you have some special ability in order to get him to speak, I will get him to speak in the way that I know best.
You know, you've really taken on not quite the hero that you once were. But...
I'm not a hero. I'm a man who does his job.
I will charm him.
Be my guest.
Okay.
Would you like to do that now?
Where is he?
This way. He leads you out of the room.
Do beware, Thurstein, that if I charm him and this works, the moment you hurt him, it all ends. So maybe try to keep your hands off for a while.
I think that the point of charming someone is to get them to talk.
Well, you're also making me nervous.
So if you are good at this, then I won't have a reason to hurt him.
Fine.
So he takes you through what seems to be some sort of a safe house. There's a lot of kind of like mechanical implements, but you do see like a flurry of like equipment, guns, some like slicing hacking materials, and it seems to be like a 3-bedroomed apartment that also has like a bathroom and stuff like that. He takes you to one of the bedrooms, opens it up, and immediately as the very first thing you notice is you hear the sound of like all of these machines running, the sounds of liquid moving, and you see Sisa on a cot, a thin blanket over him. He is stripped down to just his pants, and you see tubings that have been injected into his arm, and there is like a little like tubing that also goes into his nose. Then Thurstein walks over to a machine attached to that tubing, turns a dial, and it starts to make a gassing noise, like a tsh. Alright, he should be cognizant here in about... now. And as he says that, Sisa...
I'm going to try to charm him right away.
He continues coughing.
Where am I?
Sisa, take a deep breath.
He looks at you.
Makena? What are you doing here?
You have no idea who I am.
You're the...
No, I'm not. Now we have a few questions for you.
I could swear you're the one that I helped show where that temple was.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I do have a twin sister, though, so it might be her.
Where am I? What? Why is there...
And he starts pulling the tube out of his nose with
What's in my arm?
He pulls that out as well. So you see a little bit of like blood and liquid kind of run out. The machine flatlines with a beep.
Sisa, we have a few questions for you.
Okay.
What's going on behind the scenes at the orphanage?
You mean the one that I'm from?
Yes.
It's not much. It's an orphanage.
What's going on underground?
I'm not really supposed to talk about that.
Sisa, what's going on underground?
Make a persuasion roll with advantage.
17.
Can you keep a secret?
Yes.
It's a staging ground.
For what?
I really shouldn't talk about it, but
Sisa?
you just... No, I know. And you kind of... Carice used to say you could tell a person's heart from their eyes. I used to say she was really stupid for that. It's like, who can really tell someone's heart from their eyes? But I think that might be true with you. You're a good person. Yeah, I think it's okay to tell you. Are you with the SFF?
No.
Oh, I guess
No.
I really shouldn't tell you then.
And when he says that, Thurstein slams his elbow into your ribs. Goes,
Oh, I just didn't realize that we could tell you. We are with the SFF.
oh, make a persuasion roll with disadvantage.
10.
Can you prove it?
Thurstein, dear, can you prove to him?
He pulls back his trench coat, pulls out his gun, cocks it. Listen here. Okay, son. Would I be walking around with a gun if I wasn't trying to defend sense? The boy... He goes, I guess that makes sense. What's happening in the underneath is it's a staging ground. I guess if you're with the SFF, you're here for another shipment. Thyra works for the SFF. She stages synths, and they need to escape, like my sister. And the ones who are wanted and wouldn't easily make it in the galaxy, she keeps here, gives them a job, like me.
Your synth?
Yeah, I didn't know it my whole life. It was a surprise when I found out. It feels like a lifetime ago. My sister and I, Carice, we got tangled up with some pirates. I mean, we've always been orphans. It's kind of funny to go from that to an orphanage here, but I guess it makes sense. It's what I know how to do, and
Anyways, we got mixed up with a smuggling group, and we were running Imperium. A job. It was a pretty difficult run moving through let's just say, it was a mess that day, and we ran afoul of some of the reveries. They had a scouting vessel, and they pulled us over, and they pulled out those freaky crystals, and somehow they were able to separate my sister and I from the group, and that's when we found out we were synths. They arrested us, beat me, beat my sister, said we had to repent for being created as thinking machines. And I've never known so much pain in my life. And then the SFF was there, and they rescued us, brought us here. My face was pretty well known. I mean, I'd been seen a couple times stealing things and smuggling Imperium and other things, weapons, whatever, to make a living. My sister was always kind of running in the back doing engine work, so she's never been seen. And it's just, I think, yeah, Thyra got her a job in a cafe called Mador's over in XR1 in the hub planet Vendul. Anyways, every few months we check to see where I am on the wanted list, and hopefully when I get forgotten off of that, I can make my way out there and find Carice. So that's what's going on under there.
At this point, Makena is sobbing, like full on crying to think that this kid that she has adopted and treated poorly to herself has gone through so much. And so I and Sisa, the strength and the courage that you've had to get this far is just incredible. Dear, do you, and I'm looking at Thurstein, do you have another one of those collars where we can help him to get to Mador's cafe on XR1 to get to his sister who could be our little girl?
You just want to keep making this deal sweeter and sweeter for yourself, don't you? Go ahead and make a persuasion roll.
And also, keep the mission in mind. 24.
As far as I'm concerned, dear, this boy is your son. I am. I think I was forced to be adopted by someone else. Though I like you a little bit more, if I'm being honest. If, and Thurstein cuts in, we can finish the job, then we can talk about helping you out with this. But I don't think there's much more that you can add on to this deal. You have added already so much, and he wasn't cheap. So,
Thurstein, you have your most committed sidekick at this point, and I'm going to salute him and give him a very large hug.
Thurstein leans into your ear so that only you can hear. I would ask him where Clazezel's being kept.
Okay, now on to business, and I'm gonna wipe my eyes because I'm pretty emotional after hearing his story. We do need some more information. There seems to be some things missing, and we're hoping you can help us find them. One is a pair of keys that are gold. There seems to be 3 on a chain. Another is a very large plant that actually has leaves that grow up and then only to the right. I don't know if you've seen that. We think it's on the site of the orphanage. And another is a very large vat with a brain in it. So all 3 of those things seem to be missing, and our theory is that they might be on site with the orphanage. And we're wondering if you know where this tree with plants with leaves growing only to the right, the vat of brain, and then the ring with the 3 gold keys.
This day is just getting weird.
I know.
Keys. Maybe Headmistress Alaris might have keys.
Thurstein, take
Although the
note
janitor
of that.
has some too. I don't know about a tree and a brain.
It would probably be in a very, very large vat. Probably hidden away somewhere.
Well, I don't know. Although, Thyra does sometimes, apart from staging pickups and drop-offs of synths below the orphanage, she sometimes stores other things there, like weapons and really whatever she needs. I don't know what she'd be doing with a brain. But I can say before I was asked to show your twin sister around, she was kind of mean to me.
Was she? She tends to have a temper.
Yeah, I told her off.
Good.
Yeah, she was frightened of me, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
She should have been.
before that, I know that the other members of the Lilith Press gang were moving something big. They went in through... Are you sure this guy's okay to talk about in front of?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alright. They went in through the 3rd shipping container. I mean, if you were gonna find something like that on site, like something weird like that, that's the way Thyra usually goes, though it's pretty well guarded. She keeps an assassination bot in there.
Is there any tips on getting past an assassination bot?
Don't die.
Okay. Great tip. Okay, so there's a possible very large brain in the 3rd shipping container that you saw people from the Lily Press gang.
Well, no.
bring.
That's the shipping container is the way in.
Okay.
I think there's other ways in the orphanage. It's pretty big, but Thyra and her right-hand man, Sorsha, they always go in through the 3rd crate.
Sorsha. That name is familiar.
Roll a history check.
16?
So you remember a big, like, large, almost like brutish, barbarian-like man with lots of tattoos that curled up along the sides of his cheeks, and he had like a kind of like augmented irises. And you remember that he was one of the only other guys who was fighting the rise, the second sign of the Sunmaker's return when you guys were in the Lonely Chord. He was the man that was there with the big, like, kind of broadsword.
So, 3rd shipping container with assassination bot is where there's potential to be access the underground underneath the orphanage, where there's potentially a brain in a vat. But you think the gold keys are with either the janitor or the headmistress, and you're not sure where the plant is with leaves that grow only to the right. Is that a good summary?
Yeah. Although, if you're really interested in those things, why don't you just ask Thyro if you're with the SFF?
We could. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we will. We just wanted to make sure everything was on the up and up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When he says that, Sisa kind of narrows his eyes at Thurstein. And Thurstein picks up the hint that he might not be as trusted and kind of clears his throat. Well, I think I'll leave you two to talk. And he steps out of the room and closes it softly.
Oh. Sisa, I'm so glad that we adopted you.
I knew it. I knew you adopted me. You said you didn't.
Who said we didn't?
When you walked in, I asked... You said that you weren't the one who had adopted me.
Oh.
And you looked different, and I knew from your eyes and your voice.
Yeah, I'm the one who adopted you. Mm-hmm.
Why would you lie to me?
Well...
Everyone lies to me.
Well, Sisa, this is the start of you and I building a very special relationship. I am on the run, and they think that I bombed the House of Roses, and I knew that if I came in looking like me, because I am the only Loxodon ever in the history of ever. That's a joke, but it feels that way sometimes. It's very lonely being a Loxodon. Then they would not allow me to adopt you or function or escape prison or anything along those lines. And so, not that they allowed me to escape prison, your father helped with that. So this is the start of you and I building a very special relationship, and that I just told you something that if you were to repeat, it would ruin me and my life. And I would appreciate if this never left this room. Mm-hmm.
Make a persuasion roll.
Building trust. 23!
When I first met you, I thought that you were... I was honestly trying to figure out how I was going to get back. I mean... And honestly, now that we're talking, you're nice enough, and I'm kind of torn. I mean, Thyra saved my sister's life. I owe her, and it's not like I can really go anywhere until then. But if you can change your appearance, man, I sure would appreciate that if you could help me. If you could help me get to Carice. But I don't know, those referees, there's something else. They can pierce any veil. It feels like they have powers. It's not technomancy. They have powers that I can't say anything more than it just seems like it's from some higher power. It's magic. Not like the magic that I've seen other people do. Not like Gebradal does or anything like that, but real magic. And I don't know if what you have to offer could help, but if you could help me, that would actually get to Carice and not have a chance of the Federation coming down on me. That would mean the world to me. I also know that you didn't bomb the House of Roses. Our gang did.
Sisa, how? Well, now we both built up each other's trust a little bit, now didn't we?
Like I said, you kind of have those eyes.
Thank you. Sisa, I am certain that I can help you get back to your sister Carice. And my desire to help you with that is incredibly strong. And it will be my promise to you in this moment that as soon as we're done with this, regardless of how it turns out, and assuming you're not a serial killer that's trying to kill me in the long run or hurt any of my immediate friends, then Sisa, I will definitely help you get back to your sister.
He smiles. It's kind of a, I believe you, but I don't believe you, but I'm very thankful for the thought. Well, we can help. And he lays back just a little bit. There's a window directly across from him, and there's kind of a glinting of silver that catches your eye. You look out of it, and you can see across the way a giant tower that you didn't have. Like, your room was on the opposite side of the flat, so you couldn't see this from this vantage point before. But you see an opulent tower that rises just probably 20 stories or so above everything else. It's the central part of the city. You can see that as you look down, it also pierces the platform,
and goes like straight down. So it's almost like it's like 40 levels. You can see that there are various like landing platforms for dragons and starships, like probably every 10 or 5 of those like levels. And you see walking out of the tower with a parade of other beings dressed in some sort of business uniform and a large man floating on a repulsor lift chair, Atlas, walking towards a starship on the end. And I think that's where we'll probably call the game.
What is he doing? He's walking on a platform to a starship. That is insane.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Starlight. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. For early releases, exclusive RPG content, and other bonus material, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/starlightadventures. And to reach us for questions to be aired, email us at thestarlightadventures@gmail.com. See you next Tuesday, Spacers.